Over the last week, I've watched as people have shared their thoughts on the recent death of George Floyd and the aftermath. I've watched the video of his death, and I felt numb. It's a tragic event that's caused a national divide to resurface one more time, centered around race. And as I watched both sides of the story unfold, I saw civil and well-worded responses contrasted with those that were filled with contempt and spewed hate. And I wish I could say I understand everything or that I had the answers to these problems that have plagued America, but I don't. I'm not even sure how to respond as a leader of a rural church. I feel unqualified to add to the debate, to speak to the events that happen again and again, and while others speak loudly, I sit in silence, trying to decide how do I confront it? What actions are the correct actions? What words are the correct words? And as I wrestle with this, I come back to the fact that as a follower of Christ, I know that I must represent Him in this time. See, we as believers, as followers of Christ, have a responsibility to represent our Savior in a way that conveys His words, His actions, His sacrifice for the world. So, while we may not agree with one another about what is happening around us, we may not understand the response of those speaking the loudest, we are to show this world who Christ is and what He has accomplished for everyone. And so I'm taken back to the words of Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 22, where He says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." These are the greatest commandments that we're to follow, to live by, to model for others to see the truth of who Jesus is. But what does that look like in the midst of this? Maybe it means we start to put our guard down with those on the other side of the debate from us. Maybe we start to listen to what is being said, and without getting upset or defensive, we try to see the validity of their point of view. Maybe we begin to set our bias aside and start to learn from one another. See, I think as we love God as we're supposed to, our love for our neighbor becomes a more attainable goal. And if we're loving our neighbor with the love of God, our response to them should not be one grounded in hate. We shouldn't encourage it. We shouldn't have any part in that. We're called to live in the standard of Jesus Christ, and that means living outside of our abilities and allowing the Spirit to guide us, to convict us, to help us convey the love and hope to a broken world that needs healing. I truly believe the church has a great task before them to step up and begin to show the world what it means to love your neighbor, every neighbor. If you're not sure where to start, ask for help. Look for someone to give you some direction. Let's be willing to see these commands begin to influence our actions in our world right now. Let me leave you with this thought, though. It is hard to love your neighbor if you don't know your neighbor. So start a conversation that is rooted in love today.